Good afternoon, everyone. I have 2 o'clock Eastern Time, so we're going to get started. This is Amity Overall-Lade, the Director of the National Ombudsman Resource Center, and we're very excited to bring you a couple presenters today from the Paralysis Resource Center. They're going to be sharing some resources and supports that are available to individuals living with paralysis. So just to give you a little bit of housekeeping, as you may already noticed, you are muted and you'll remain muted during the presentations, but feel free to enter a question in the chat box and we'll make sure that it's answered at the end of Bill and Rebecca's presentations. We'll have time for Q&A. So our first presenter is Bill Cawley. He's the Director of the Peer and Family Support Program, and after Bill will be Rebecca Solzbach. She's the Program Manager of the Peer and Family Support Program. And like I said, it's been a pleasure getting to meet both of them and really have a better understanding of the resources and supports that are part of the Paralysis Resource Center, and I'm excited to share them with you today so you can better serve individuals that you see in long-term care facilities in your region or your state. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Bill, you're up.
Hey, Amity, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thanks, doing well. Well, thank you, everybody. And my name is, as Amity says, Bill Cawley. I'm the Director for the Peer and Family Support Program, which is the REEF Foundation's National Peer Mentoring Program. And I'm part of the Paralysis Resource Center, which is sort of the department that our program is under. And we're looking forward to having an opportunity to share with you things from both of those, from the department, if you will, as well as our program. I'll be talking a little bit more generally about the Paralysis Resource Center, and then I'm going to kick it over to my colleague Rebecca, who will talk to you a little bit more about the Peer and Family Support Program. We do want to kind of jump right into it because I think we've got a lot of ground to cover, but we're excited and thankful for the opportunity. So just to get started, Christopher and Dana Reeve really were ahead of their time. Prior to Chris's injury, really in our community, organizations, nonprofits tended to be focused on either the care of someone who's living with paralysis and support of their family members and caregivers, or research. The two worlds really didn't collide, and I know that from my experience because I was injured about 25 years ago, and I was raising money for the community and didn't know how to go about it the best way. And then I came across the REEF Foundation, and when I read Today's Care, Tomorrow's Cure, it really hit home with me. Because while ultimately we are trying to find a cure, and we will eventually, we really also want to take care of people while they're living with paralysis, whether it's a spinal cord injury or some other condition, paralyzing condition, which we'll talk about in a moment. So they really embodied that, and it's something they've instilled in each and one of us who work at the foundation and continue to, and it's really our mantra every day and stuff, which makes us a little bit, there's wonderful organizations and nonprofits and people doing great work out there, but granted, I'm a little biased, but I don't think anyone meshes the two together as much and works at it as often or as hard as we do on a day-to-day basis. So that's a little bit of a sense of us, and you can obviously see the mission statement. I do want to just give you a little bit of some insight into our community, just a couple of facts and stats, if you will, just to give you a little bit of sense of our community. As you can see, there's 5.3 million people living with paralysis, which is actually a much bigger number than a lot of people think. The REEF Foundation funded a research study several years ago that ultimately was published in the Journal of Public Health last year that helped the general public understand really how big this community is. And as you can see here, and it even surprised us a little bit, to be honest with you. As you can see here, a little bit of the breakdown, and I think probably in your line of work, a lot of you do see the folks who are paralyzed from stroke, 1.8 million. Spinal cord injury is second, 1.4, and then you can see some of the other conditions that cause some form of paralysis for individuals as well. So that just gives you a little bit of a sense of the size and sort of the percentages within the paralysis community. You can break that down a little bit further. While the REEF Foundation is sort of known or sometimes pigeonholed into spinal cord injury, we really provide services, and the Paralysis Resource Center provides services for people with any kind of mobility impairment and different paralyzing conditions, if you will, and you'll see that in a little bit as well. But as you can see, kind of the breakdown of how people become spinal cord injured, it may not be too much of a surprise that you have motor vehicle accidents is really the main reason. as well as then physical labor, and that could be a contractor, a firefighter, whatever it might be. Victims of violence, unfortunately, is also a growing number. And you can see just sort of some of the other ways that people end up suffering spinal cord injuries. Falls are big ones as well, too, especially as I think as the population ages. Okay. Oh, there we go. Sorry. I was having a hard time advancing my slide there for a second. So what you see here is actually the Paralysis Resource Center, which is what I just spoke about, and this is kind of the ribbon cutting that happened back in 2002. Since the Resource Center has been opened up, they excuse me. There you go. Sorry. And the Paralysis Resource Center is really the main focus, although it does many things. But to try and sum it up would be really is that it provides resources and services that enable people who are living with paralysis, along with their loved ones, to live more independent lives. The way we like to think about it and talk about it within the peer program is sort of how to get back on with your life. All the services, and we're gonna go over some. I'm gonna share some of the resources and materials and stuff that we are able to provide through the PRC. But all those materials and all these resources you're gonna hear about and learn about are all free, which I think is important. The reason the PRC got started was really, it was a little bit more of Dana's vision than Chris's. Chris was very focused on research and trying to ultimately find a cure. Dana, who kind of famously said when Chris was injured, she felt like she'd been transported to another planet. A spinal cord injury is usually very sudden, and it throws your world into chaos, and you don't know who to call or where to go, and who to speak to. And that also happens with people who are living with conditions that continually over time maybe get worse. If someone's condition can get worse, it can throw that person's life and their families and other people around them lives into a little bit of chaos and as well. So the PRC is meant to help navigate people through those different stages of their lives, as well as their family members, to help them get back into a little bit more of a normal life, into things they want to be doing. And so it's kind of a place to go to for information, resources, and support. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We're very fortunate the PRC is actually fully funded through the ACL. We used to be funded by the CDC, and about 4 years ago we were transferred over there, and it's opened up a lot of opportunities for us as a foundation as well as the PRC into new opportunities. So we've been really happy about that. I just kind of touched on that there are, obviously, the Reef Foundation is involved with spinal cord injury, but you can see all the different types of paralyzing conditions that are out there. Some of these were ones I never knew about or even heard about. But we do have information and resources and can provide support regardless of the type of condition or this type of paralysis you're dealing with. I won't list all those, obviously. Information services. So these are information specialists. They provide support and answers to paralysis-related questions. Excuse me. There's a few different ways to contact us. You can set up an appointment or ask a question through online. You can give us a call, and you can also email us as well. Really, at the heart of information services is our information specialist team. These are folks who are sort of on the front line, and there are people who, when they contact the foundation, are usually the first people or the first contact people have with the foundation, and they are there to, again, respond to questions, answer, provide resources and information to these folks, and often, provide a calming influence or a calming hand to them as well when they're especially dealing with maybe a new injury. So an information specialist inquiry process, as you can see there, they can ask questions. What's great about what the information specialist team can do is, as you ask questions and your concerns are being addressed, they really customize the information for the individual and for those individuals' needs. In particular, if you look at someone who's contacting us who maybe family member just received a spinal cord injury, that information is going to be customized to a new injury, potentially where they're located, how to pick a rehab center, those kind of things as well. So that is a service that is really invaluable to a family. And again, also someone who may be living with MS or another paralyzing condition, and now their loved ones or their own condition is getting worse and they're dealing with new challenges. The IS team is adept at identifying those resources and providing to those people that can help them in their immediate need and things as they may come up down the road a little bit. Talk a little bit about some of the support and information and resources. This is some types of the material that can be sent to an individual, again, who may be living with that form of paralysis, or their family member or loved one, or also professionals, healthcare professionals contact us constantly. The PRG is probably one of the things we're most known for. It is really considered the Bible by many, many people, and at universities and in classrooms almost as a textbook, and provides information about everything you can imagine: secondary conditions, eating healthy, wheelchairs, traveling, whatever kind of questions you might have. The PRG is something that everyone can refer to. Certainly provides lots of information, and then obviously can come right back to us, the information specialist team, to round out any other questions you might have. Other materials that we provide, again, that are free of charge, are our wallet cards, and these are a relatively new product, but they've been very, very helpful and very popular. Things like AD, anatomic dysreflexia, is something that, unless you're in the spinal cord world, you may not know a lot about, but it's a serious sort of blood pressure issue that can occur, especially with quadriplegics. And quite often, people, even medical professionals, don't know. I myself have been in the hospital a couple times in the emergency room, and I've talked about AD, and I get blank stares sometimes. So having this kind of information handy in your wallet can be invaluable. Other things like DVTs and CESPIS are a little bit more common, but they can be a little bit unique with someone who's living with a spinal cord injury, or again, a paralyzing condition. So these are really popular items, and we're happy to send those out. We send them out continually. Fact sheets are something we'll talk about in a minute as well, but this is, again, another resource that can really be provided to an individual, or again, their loved one, with really customized information about either a topic that they have a question about, or a state where they're located. The publications that you see as well, these are examples. These are a little bit newer, and again, continue to be very popular. These are a lot of illustrations, very direct and to the point about how to manage and handle certain situations. Pressure sores and skin management is a huge issue with someone who's living with paralysis. So that kind of 4 or 5 page brochure about all the different types of, well, I shouldn't say 4 or 5, there's way too many to count in terms of skin conditions, but how to prevent them, how to treat them, and how to deal with them after the fact. Bladder management, another big issue. So these are big brochures with lots of pictures and very direct and simple explanations about how to prevent them and how to take care of them, and how to prevent them in the future. So some very popular items, again, that are all free, and we're more than happy to send them around to individuals and or facilities. Here is just the front page of our website. In case you're all wondering what I look like, now you know. That is a picture of me and one of my daughters, actually. So I'm a little partial to that picture. But our website now well, we revamped it a couple of years ago. It is mobile, very user-friendly. It's obviously where you can get information about resources and materials, but also where you can get more information about, as you see across that top bar, getting involved, how you can get involved with the foundation or the community as a whole, research, our blog and forums, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. But it's a mobile-friendly version of our website as well, easy to navigate, pretty intuitive. So I suggest all of you, when you get a chance to take a look, I think you'll see a lot of information that you'll find helpful. I mentioned before the fact sheets, just to touch on that a little bit more detail. These are very popular items for individuals, and certainly actually for facilities as well, because what they do, you see the first box there says talks about topics, so you can look up any information around wheelchairs or wheelchair providers, durable medical equipment providers, activities, sports activities right there, based on your state. So you can do that. You can search by topic. You can also search by state. And again, the information is very customized. We do our best to keep it up to date, but it's very, very helpful whether you are brand new to being paralyzed, or you've been at it for a while, but you're looking to get out and do something different or learn something new. So it's really, they're great tools, can be easily downloadable, and can be sent to you through the IS team as well. Resource map is an interactive map. Well, I shouldn't say interactive, but you can, it's sort of the next step with the fact sheets in a way, because what you can do is you can type in, up in the top corner there where it says select a type, you can select by categories, and then your zip code, and you'll see things that are in and around that zip code that are by any topic. Again, it could be activities, it could be medical equipment places, it could be recreational parks or anything like that, again, depending on the topic you search, but it really narrows it down to your zip code. And then you can see, if you know surrounding zip codes, you plug those into to get a little bit of a wider search. It's very helpful for individuals who, especially maybe new to living with paralysis, and their family members who want to see them out and about as well. Again, this is also part of the website you'll see, and these are the forms. So this is how the Ask Us Anything is how you would get in contact with an information specialist. You complete a fairly quick and easy form that is a lot of check boxes and radio buttons, all those kind of things, so it's easy to navigate. And then you can schedule a call or send a question in. And then within that same, you also can do the same thing to request a peer mentor. So if you are looking for a peer mentor for someone you all are dealing with, they can come to the website, fill out some information, and then we automatically get the referral, and then we're back in touch with them. So it's all online, again, also mobile friendly. One of the parts of the PRC, and really kind of how the PRC got started, was the lending library, if you will. As you can see, there's 5,000 books and plus videos. Excuse me, 5,000 plus books and videos available. It really is the largest, most comprehensive information and resource that you can find around the world of paralysis. You can get free books and videos. All those can be loaned to you, and then we send a self-addressed envelope back, so you can send it back to us free of charge. So it's not really any kind of issue or cost to anybody. There's a children's category as well, which I think is great and neat. So it's hard to explain the breadth of the information that's available there, but you can find information really on anything. And again, we're able to send it to you for free, and you're given an envelope to send it back. We touched a little bit on this with the online community. Excuse me. And we have on-demand videos that are available for folks to look at, from exercising to using a wheelchair, a variety of different topics. We have a couple of folks who participate online. Dr. Dan, who is a therapist who's actually living with spinal cord injury, and he has a blog once a month that talks about caregiver-related topics, which is an important part of our community. The folks who care for the folks who are living with paralysis need support as well. So Dr. Dan's a wonderful resource for that as well. We actually have social media presence there on Facebook and Twitter, online forums as well, where discussion groups that can get together and share ideas, thoughts, concerns, things they're struggling with, whatever it might be. And then we have Nurse Linda, who is a PhD and a nurse professor, and she is online once a month, does a great job. And then in our discussion groups as well, addressing sort of the physical parts of living with paralysis. Again, I mentioned, we looked at those brochures, we talked about bowel and bladder, pressure sores. She kind of tackles those topics in a way that is very easy to understand, and you feel very comfortable sharing. So she's great. So I encourage you to check those out, and any of the folks you're working with, if they're looking for that kind of support or some specific answers, they're wonderful resources. We also have a military and veterans program called the MVP, and it is designed really to help do a variety of different things, but there's a lot of outreach to vets and military rehab centers, and really a lot of it is helping them navigate the VA or the healthcare system, which can be a pretty tricky thing, especially if you're new to it. So these are folks who are living with paralysis. They've navigated it, and they can be a wonderful resource in terms of navigating that, but also the support you need when you come home or whatever else you might be dealing with. So these are all folks who are, what's important here to notice too, I just wanted, the injury does not need to be combat related. I think some people think that it might just be if they're injury related during the combat, but it's really not. If you're active service, that's all that matters. Not even active if you're in the military, I should say, or a vet. So I think at this point I'm going to kind of kick it over to Rebecca, and then, as I said, we look forward to any questions.
Thank you, Bill. I learned a lot just looking and listening to you review those slides, so thanks so much. Rebecca, I'm going to transfer control to you, so just one moment. All right, the box should come up on your screen.
And can you see my screen?
Yes, I see the Peer and Family Support Program slide, and I can hear you fine.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks.
I'm going to talk a little bit about our Peer and Family Support Program. The program began back in 2011, so we have been around for 6 years now. And the Peer and Family Support Program is the Reeve Foundation's national peer-to-peer mentoring program. Our mentors, who are trained and certified, provide support and information on both local and national resources to people who are living with paralysis, as well as their family members and caregivers. And that's something that we are especially proud of, is that we also, in addition to having mentors for people who are living with paralysis, which is very important to us, we also have mentors available for their family members and caregivers. We recognize that family members have their own unique and special needs and issues, and we want to provide them with support as well. And so I just wanted to review the goals of the Peer and Family Support Program. Again, we really want to provide support and information to people who are living with paralysis, as well as their family members. And we do this so that they can maintain independence and really improve their overall quality of life by working with a mentor. We also want to increase the amount of mentoring that is occurring across the country, and in particular for the paralysis community. We recognize that mentoring, I think, is especially important for people who are living with paralysis. As Bill mentioned, when you sustain a spinal cord injury, that can be a very chaotic, difficult time. And for people who are newly injured, our mentors are really there to help provide sort of a guide through that difficult time, and help establish a relationship with our peers, which is what we call our clients, the people who are receiving mentoring. Our mentors are really there to help establish a relationship with them, to guide them forward, and their family members as well. And in addition, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, we also provide mentoring to people who have been living with paralysis for 5, 10, 15, 20 years as well. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. Another goal of our program is to provide a standardized baseline of training. We train and certify all of our mentors just to make sure that there is a level of consistency in our mentoring across the country. This is a nationwide program. We also want to connect our peer mentors and our peers to our Paralysis Resource Center so that they can take advantage and utilize the services and programs that are available through the PRC, in addition to peer mentoring. I just wanted to briefly touch on some of the program statistics. We currently have over 275 peer mentors, and they are spread out across the country in 40 different states. The program to date has provided mentoring to over 7,700 peers, and our peers and mentors have met for more than 14,300 encounters, and an encounter is a meeting between a peer and his or her mentor. Then who are the Peer and Family Support Program's mentors? All of our mentors are people who are living with paralysis, as well as family members and caregivers. All of our mentors have been living with paralysis, or they're the family member of someone with paralysis, for at least 1 year. We really feel that our mentors need to be living with paralysis for that first year so that they can gain the experience and the knowledge that will enable them to be effective mentors. Our mentoring is really based on the mentor's knowledge and experience with living with paralysis. We want to make sure they have a good, solid foundation for their mentoring when they enter the program. All of our mentors are thriving in their lives, and they're able to demonstrate the skills as well as the attitude and outlook that will empower others. Our mentors are there to really provide support and guide our peers through whatever issues or challenges they're facing, help them to set goals and achieve them. So you really do need to be thriving in your own life and be able to help others do the same. And all of our mentors are trained and certified by the Peer and Family Support Program. And we're going to talk a little bit later on about our training and certification process. Our mentors are able to provide a number of different things for their peers. They provide guidance and perspective, and this is the really important part, is from someone who understands. We very strongly believe that people who have been there, have been living with paralysis, have the experience, have the firsthand knowledge. They are probably the best source of support and guidance and advice for our peers and for people who are living with paralysis and need and want to be mentored. Our mentors provide individualized support, which is focused on the peer's needs. And I'll touch on that a little bit later, but the support is really focused on whatever issues and questions the peer brings to the table and brings to the mentoring relationship. Our mentors also provide answers to their peers' questions based on their own knowledge and experience. They assist with locating resources. And all of our peer mentoring relationships, all of the encounters, all the interactions are confidential. And obviously that's very important to our peers. They need to know that whatever questions they have, and which can sometimes be on some really difficult and sensitive issues, whatever those discussions are going to remain between our peers and their mentors. So some of the benefits of mentoring, working with a mentor can reduce feelings of isolation that a peer may be experiencing, especially for those who maybe are newly injured. Having a mentor can introduce them to the paralysis community and to the community at large. Mentoring can also increase a peer's knowledge about living with paralysis, as well as knowledge of available resources. And our mentoring really sort of can cover a very broad sort of spectrum of topics. It can be anything from a mentor providing sort of just tips and tricks to their peers of how to just deal with everyday realities and just make living with paralysis easier. Things like learning the best way to transfer, or what is, maybe how to purchase an accessible vehicle. Just things that peers can learn from their mentors that will really help ease their daily lives and their daily routines. And then also our mentors are available to help with setting and achieving life goals, like going back to work, or maybe starting a family, or re-engaging with the community. I think our mentoring probably generally, each relationship probably covers all aspects of that spectrum, depending on the peer's needs. Mentoring can also improve independent living skills. This is dependent on each individual's abilities. Mentoring strengthens the peer's sense of self-determination and can increase their confidence and motivation. That's a great way for people to then set and reach goals. It can also improve someone's outlook on life with paralysis and their optimism about the future. I think this is where our peer mentors really can serve as a role model and a way forward for someone who is struggling with a new injury or struggling with life transitions. To look at someone who has already created that path forward for themselves can really help improve someone's outlook and make them optimistic about their own futures. And overall, mentoring can really enhance our peers' quality of life. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the aspects of our program. One of the hallmarks of our program is our peer and mentor matching. We feel we try very hard to make matches that will really maximize the benefits of the mentoring relationship. We do a match. The first thing that we look at when we're matching a peer with a mentor is the level of injury. And because the level of injury is so important in determining a person's ability or functional capacity and functional abilities after an injury or after the onset of paralysis, we really look at level of injury and match our peers with someone whose level of injury is the same. That way, that really maximizes the potential benefits of their relationship, because our peer is working with someone who is very, very similar to them, especially in their functional capacities and abilities. We also match according to gender. We take into consideration age. We also look at marital status and the cause of paralysis. And in addition to the criteria that you see on the slide, we also take into consideration anything that the peer mentions that is important to him or her. If they're looking for a certain type of mentor, we really want to take that into consideration and involve that need or that want into the matching. And then all of our matching is done by our program coordinator, who handles all of our requests for a mentor. I wanted to talk next about our peer and peer mentor relationship. As I mentioned briefly before, we are a peer-focused program. So all of our peers determine the topics of discussion. They bring their own questions to the table with the mentor. They raise the issues. The conversation is really based on the discussion. The mentoring is based on what they want, the peers want and need. The peers also decide how frequently they're going to meet with their mentors, and in addition, how they're going to communicate with their mentors. If it's possible and a peer wants to meet with a mentor in person, if we have a mentor in their area, we will match, that is a good match for them. We'll match the peer with that mentor and they can meet in person. If that's not a possibility or someone wants to do remote mentoring, we have that available as well. We can match peers across the country who are across the country from their mentors and in different states. And then those relationships would take place by phone, email, text, or video chat, whatever form of communication is most comfortable for the peer. Our peers are both newly injured individuals and those who have been living with paralysis for years, in addition to family members and caregivers. And for people who have been living with paralysis for years, often they come to us because they're facing life transitions. Maybe they're going to be getting married, maybe they want to go back to work, or maybe they're just aging with paralysis and just really need some help in dealing with whatever issues and challenges those life transitions present. So certainly mentoring is very beneficial for newly injured individuals. Sometimes I think people don't realize that it's also helpful for people who've been living with paralysis for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Our mentoring can just be a single encounter or meeting, or it can become an even longer term relationship, and it often does. Sometimes people contact us, peers contact us, they just have some questions about one topic. Maybe they're looking for an accessible vehicle and they want some advice on how to do that. So we will pair them with a mentor to answer those very specific questions on those topics. But we also have much longer term relationships, mentoring relationships that can go on for weeks and months and even years. And again, just to emphasize, our peer and peer mentor relationship is a private and confidential relationship. If you would like to request a mentor, you can do that in one of several ways. You can complete the online request form that Bill showed you previously in the presentation, and that is available on our website. You can give the Reed Foundation a call and ask to speak with someone in the Peer and Family Support Program, or just let the person who answers the phone know that you'd like to request a mentor, and they'll direct your call to the correct person. You can also contact the Peer and Family Support Program during our office hours, and this is a way to speak directly with the mentor. Our office hours are currently held on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays between noon and 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're hoping to expand those hours in the very near future. And again, you just call the Reed Foundation during these hours and ask to speak to a peer mentor, and you will be transferred directly to a mentor who can, answer your questions. If you're dealing with an issue, talk to you about that, and also explain the program a little bit more and answer any questions you would have about the program itself. And then for anyone who is interested in becoming a mentor, I wanted to touch very briefly on our training and certification process. We have 4 different steps. People who would like to become a mentor need to submit a brief online application, which is available on our website. They also need to participate in an informal phone interview with a member of our staff, and that's just a way for us to get to know those who want to become a mentor a little bit better. They must then attend a virtual peer mentor training, and I'll talk briefly about those in just a moment. And finally, they also need to agree to a code of conduct and submit to a background check. So our peer mentor trainings are conducted, we use a video conferencing platform. This enables all of our participants to attend from their homes or offices, although we do sometimes, with some of our partnering organizations and other facilities that serve the paralysis community, sometimes they will host a training group. So people in their community, perhaps former patients, anyone who's interested in becoming a mentor can go to that host facility, gather together, and take a training as part of that group. But really, most people do participate in our trainings individually from their homes. The topics that we cover during our trainings include effective peer mentoring, We discuss ethics in mentoring, along with interpersonal communication skills. During the training, we also provide an introduction to both the Reeve Foundation and the Paralysis Resource Center. And a large part of our peer mentor trainings do focus on group discussions. We present different scenarios that mentors may encounter when working with their peers and discuss those in great detail. We really want our peer mentor trainings to be engaging and interactive as well. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over for any questions that anyone who's listening may have.
Thank you, Rebecca. Such an amazing program and support for people living with paralysis. I really appreciate you running through the program, your training process, your matching process. I think that's extremely helpful. Let's see, while I open up the question box, I just wanted to make some suggestions as I was listening to the presentation and after speaking with both Bill and Rebecca and learning more about the Resource Center and the peer mentoring program. I could remember being a local ombudsman and meeting residents that had paralysis and were living in long-term care facilities. So I could see both the resources, such as the resource guide and the peer mentoring process, being really helpful to individuals that may be living with paralysis and may be new to them, and maybe they're feeling isolated or a long-term care facility, or perhaps social workers at nursing homes and other facilities aren't even aware that these resources exist. So please share these with your Ombudsman Program representatives, because I think it's really helpful information to just add to their advocacy toolkit. So I'm not seeing any questions right now. As a reminder, you can type in a question in the toolbox that's on the right-hand side of your screen, or you can raise your hand, and I'll let you know that you have the floor. Any questions? So while we're waiting, maybe some questions will come in. I just wanted to double check that Bill and Rebecca, you said that those materials, such as those cards, were available for free. And people, can I assume, just contact the Resource Center and ask for them, or how does that work? Or can they download and print PDF versions?
It's certainly a combination of the two. I think certainly a lot of stuff can be downloaded and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, Rebecca, I think the cards can be, right?
Yes, they can. Yep.
So the wallet cards, the brochures, I'm not sure about, but yes, they can contact the Reeve Foundation, certainly through the information specialist team, like we were talking about before, and whether it's for an individual, for one or two just for themselves, or if they want them for a facility, they can make that request as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I could see programs
and
even incorporating.
The PRG is actually downloadable as well.
Excellent. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yep. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, Amity.
Just one second. I'm going to open up the question box. It looks like we've received a question. Are either of you aware of any nursing home residents who serve as mentors?
Nursing home residents that serve as mentors. That's a great question. I don't think so. I can happy to get that question to whomever if they want an answer to it. We'd have to check. We have part of our team. We have two other team members. One is down in Dallas. He's our program coordinator who does all the matching and works with the peer mentors after sort of Rebecca gets them trained. So I don't think we have any. I don't think we have peer mentors that are residents. Rebecca, do you know of any?
Not that I know of, but we could, that we're just not thinking of.
Sometimes we don't always know. They fill out a form and stuff, and that's actually not a question. It's a good something for us to think about. So it depends a little bit on how they self-identify, but we could certainly find out. And if someone wanted that answer, we can get that. I don't know if Amy, if we could get that answer to you, and you can get it out to the person, or they can contact us directly. But it's a great question.
Okay, great. I thought so too. And what ages are served?
Really any age. You know, we've had in the past, we've had a few minor, when the minors under 18 peer mentors. And I think we still may have one. I think the other couple we have, you know, they kind of sort of cycle in and out sometimes, just depending on things going on in their own lives. But if someone is working with someone under age, if you will, under 18, we can certainly make arrangements or help that person out if need be. But primarily, you know, we're sort of, I guess, 18 and above, if you will. But we certainly we see more and more people that are in their 65s and 70s that are looking for help and support. So we really kind of run the whole gamut.
Great, thanks. And I was glad that you clarified about the veterans piece, that it doesn't have to be an injury sustained while they were in service. So that's good to know. Do you have any examples of how the Resource Center or the peer mentoring program have assisted individuals living in long-term care facilities, or any issues that have been specifically identified of individuals living with paralysis in a long-term care facility?
A lot of it at this point is more, certainly on the peer side, it's more support in terms of living with paralysis and in the facility you're in, how to let's say maintain or advocate for yourself, which is obviously something you guys are very familiar with. And then in terms of, we do get requests from information. We get requests for information about how to have someone move out and maybe come home, and the IS team I know has provided that kind of information as well. So this is a little bit of a new arena for us. It's not something, if you go back a few years ago even, it wasn't something that the people with spinal cord injuries were dealing with a lot, but it's happening a lot more now. So we're still kind of getting our feet wet and understanding how to best serve people that are in that situation, which I think is one of the reasons why this has been a great sort of setup between the two of us, and look forward to kind of continue to move that on.
I agree. You mentioned at the very beginning that originally the foundation started, or at least Christopher was really interested in the research. So are there any current research initiatives being conducted right now that you're aware of?
Yeah, there is. The RE Foundation has what you call a wide portfolio, if you will, of funding different kinds of research and different types of research. We have a lot of activity-based NRN type facilities where people are, it's a combination of physical therapy along with, up on a local, people have probably seen this. If you go to our website, you'll be able to see and understand a little bit better, but when an individual is suspended in a harness, but over a treadmill, and there's individuals basically retraining the spinal cord to walk. And that is combined with some electrical stimulation, and we've had people that have had success in getting up and standing, as well as some of the other secondary conditions that come along with spinal cord injuries, like bowel and bladder function, getting returned or returning or getting better. So we're involved with a lot of different research. Certainly the activity-based kind of therapy is something that we're very involved with and we seem to be seeing the most success with.
Great, thank you. Okay, I think that covers all the questions that we've received right now. Was there anything else, either based on the questions or that you felt like you wanted to touch on before closing out?
No, I think you can see our contact information, so I would encourage you to contact us directly. Please feel free, if you're working with I'm sorry, I don't know if you call them patients or clients. I guess probably clients. I don't know that for sure, but the folks that you're working with, if you think they are in need of support, if they're feeling isolated, if they're feeling like they're shut off or not getting the support they need, or could even use additional information, just contact us directly. We're more than happy to try and connect them with a peer mentor or help that individual get over to the IS team, whatever might be, whatever's the best way to do it. But we encourage you to contact us directly and just let us know how you think we might be able to help an individual. If you think there's a facility or anything like that that might want to work with us, who has folks in there that are living with paralysis, we would be happy to talk to the administrator there and see if we could bring people in, if we have people local or whatever it might be. But we would just let us know how we can help. We're more than happy to, and we've got, as Rebecca kind of indicated, we've got 250 some odd mentors across the country. So we hopefully have some near any of you that are on the phone or anyone else in your network.
That's a great idea, especially about specific facilities that may have several residents living with paralysis that could work with you all. So thanks for sharing that too. That's something that we'll definitely look for. And we'd be happy to connect with any mentors in the state or region where they live. So that would be great. Thank you so much for presenting and discussing this with us today, Bill and Rebecca. I learned a lot. I know the folks on the phone did as well. Just to remind you all, the webinar is recorded, and we will send out the link as well as a link to an evaluation soon, and all the materials will be posted on the website. And please don't hesitate to reach out to them if you have any questions, or as Bill mentioned, anyone that seems isolated and can use some extra support. So we're really glad that this program is out there, and thank you again for your time today.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Rebecca. Y'all have a great day.
You too, Amity. Thank you.
Bye.